Welcome, Wapham crew, and greetings to any new listeners that may be listening at this moment. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the Laplatas on a sweet old Rocky Mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is a nice and balmy 79.9 degrees inside my office here in lovely Bayberry, Colorado. It's a less muggy 79.2 degrees Fahrenheit in the outdoors. If you're listening right now, you may be listening to us on Spreaker.com. You might also be listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. So it is a Labor Day weekend, boys and girls. Therefore, it is Saturday, September 3rd, Sunday, September 4th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I hope you guys have been having an awesome and amazing, chillaxing, fun, fast and furious, whatever you prefer, Labor Day weekend. A lot of our friends are out there partaking in the bike rally. Yes, it's actually still happening, and I wasn't aware of that until the other day. My lovely friend Sadra, she's out and about, partaking in such funnery. I also heard from my companion, as well as a couple other people, that there are tons of bikes about, so I don't know. That means there's a lot of other stuff going on. Oh, either that was the cat catching that dastardly mouse that keeps me up every night, or maybe the cat had a crash. I'm hoping and praying it got that damn mouse because holy shnikes. That thing is a terrorist. Anyways, okay, so back to Labor Day weekend and motorcycle rallies and such. There should be much debauchery as well as jiggle bitties flying around. So make sure you have a handful of beads because if a girl decides to show you her boobs, it would be with the most politeness and the most respect to hand her some beads. I remember when I was in New Orleans, and you guys know how I am sometimes, Pretty proud of my assets, but I did not flash a titty one while in New Orleans. And these guys like wanted me to and offered me this little tiny string of beads, and I was like, "No, that's okay." And they're like, "How about five?" Nah. Where's big beads? Big beads for the big boobs. Come on. So yeah, if you guys, you really want a good show or whatever, get those big beads out. Those are the ones the girls are looking for. Imagine yourself as a male bird and you're trying to attract that female bird. The bigger the bead, baby, the prettier the colors, the better off it is. Anyways, yeah, it's been, geez, oh, Pete, I can't even remember. I believe the last time I went to a rally, the Los Lonely Boys were playing. I love those guys. They're awesome. Haven't heard a lot from them recently as far as musically, but yeah, Los Lonely Boys, and that was kind of a secondary roofie moment, so did really good. At this point, I've already been roofied once at a rally, so don't take any drinks from strangers. Don't leave my drink unattended. I even take my drink into the nastiest bathroom or have a bartender save it or stow it away in a really safe place. Just depends on who the bartender is. But yeah, this had nothing to do with a drink. It had to do with birds. Went with this nice couple and their friend to smoke some herbs. And then they're like, "Come on, you should come into this big old tent with us and smoke." And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I think I'll stay out here by this ghetto ass car." And they're like, "Come on, yeah, nothing's gonna happen. We're nice, we're friendly, blah blah blah." I'm like, "No, I'm good. Pretty hot, cooling off, enjoying the fresh air." AKA, don't want to go in your creepy ass big tent because Three of you, one of me, not gonna do it. Then I smoked some of these herbs, and I'm telling you, hit number two, I was just like, something's wrong. I never leave behind a soldier, aka my drink or my beer or whatever, but I slammed it down on the car and went from the dark to the nearest light pole and light that I could see. And I don't know, it was just so freaking scary. I knew I had to make it to the light or something really bad was going to happen to me. And all the while, the couple starts laughing, and then their friend starts laughing. And I don't think they perceive like my stamina and my endurance and my willpower. Uh, if my body ain't gonna make it, my soul's gonna pick up my body and carry it to where I need to go. And I did fall a couple times, but I was like, no, no, you can't stay here. You can't stay here. You gotta keep going. So I did. I got up and I had bought this really pretty bandana, which I still have. It's black and white, the whole swirly dirly black and white bandana. Same design as a lot of them these days, different colors. And it's got a little sparkly butterfly on there. So rolled it up, put it around my head because, I want to look like a biker. And so I'm holding on to this light pole. I'm wearing my sparkly bandana. And it's like the gravity of Earth is trying to pull my body down to the ground. And I just knew I gotta hold on with all my life. I cannot fall. I have to hold on to this. And there's a native couple and a couple of their friends, and they're walking by, and I'm calling out for help to them. And I guess I look Hispanic. I'm not. I'm mostly Irish and British, a little bit Norwegian, and some other things, and a little smidge black. Uh, there's 0.01% something unidentified. Maybe that's the Cherokee side of me. Maybe it's not coming up on my genetics test because Native people really don't test their genetics because they already know where they came from. But if I was Native, I'd be intrigued because, star people and all these other things. I'd want to know what exactly I'm made up of. I think it'd be interesting. Anywho's, going back to the post. Okay, so they're walking along, and the husband seems like he is maybe legitimately worried about me. I could tell by the look on his face. And then the Native American girl, I'm not going to say a tribe because I don't think, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. There's bad apples out there for every race, but shall I say she was very ugly as far as her presence and, her spirit. But she's like, fuck you, you chola bitch. And I was like, what? An Irish Cherokee, because I thought that, my mom was Cherokee and my dad was Irish and whatever. But I guess my mom was part Cherokee too and German. My dad was Irish and Deutsch. Um, yeah. At that point, held on tight with one arm and let loose with the other and ripped that bandana off my head and slung it to the ground. And leave back onto the pole, the light post, and waited for the next person to come by. And people would walk by, but they were quite a distance away, and I don't think they could understand me because it was hard to even articulate what I'm trying to say. But eventually, here comes security uh, cart. I think they were looking for me because they noticed, hey, where'd Tess go? She's been missing for a while, and like I said, there was a history about shit. I'm gonna say 18 years ago. No, nope, 16 years ago was my first bad experience at a rally by a person that claimed to be a member of the alcohol, drug, and tobacco and gun, whatever, the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms Administration. Like, what a jerk. Two couples. They seemed really nice, but hey. Sometimes things aren't what they seem. But yeah, they finally found me. Luckily, I was close to, a road. Got me on the cart, asked me what happened. Oh my gosh, I was just so happy that I made it. I survived. Because in real life, and Selena Spooky Boo, I don't know if you follow her, but she was talking about an experience when she was younger that she had on Facebook back when Facebook had a dating site, and about how she had met this guy and talked to him and blah blah blah. They were supposed to meet up, they never did. And this guy and I want to say his girlfriend, but I don't think he would ever take one. I think that would be better known as his female accomplice actually killed. He raped and killed an 8-year-old girl. Not cool. But yeah, she was making a statement the other day of be careful of people you meet on the internet because you don't know. Like, they may seem nice, they made this, they made that, and then come to find out they're a freaking rapist killer. Um, People you meet and you think generally, oh, well, I'm pretty good at picking up on people's energies, blah, blah, blah. At this point, I just wanted to smoke a bowl, and I'm like, these guys definitely smoke weed. So, so that, eh, yeah, bad for me. Generally, they just go outside the tent or whatever, even though we're in a Nash show or whatnot. Hey, follow us over here. This is where we kept it. Open a brand new package. I don't know. So freaking weird. Maybe it had to be sealed up in order to keep in whatever the heck they put in it. Or maybe that could have been salvia sage, is what it kind of reminded me of, as far as like, I tried that once. Actually, I tried it twice. Very interesting both times. Um, but didn't go into a different realm. I was just like, I knew where I was, I knew my surroundings, I saw the light, and I was just doing everything and anything I could to go towards the light. Now that I think of it, maybe that's good training for the afterlife because some people stay here for different reasons. Perhaps it's you have unfinished business or you have too much guilt or whatever it may be to carry on. But yeah, I think got good training in that at this point. Man, super, super quiet in the chat room. I hope the reason for that is that everyone is out and about with their families and enjoying the Labor Day weekend. I was just happy to sleep in until about noon, get up, scroll. YouTube for me is the worst, like my worst addiction at this point because I listen to it every night to go to sleep, etc. And there's a lot of different videos out there. And then HBO Max, Discovery Channel, History Channel, all in my palm of my hands on my phone. I could look up any of these and watch it, but yeah, last night it was YouTube because my internet, I must let you guys know, if we buffer at any point tonight or we have any issues, I do have a new router on its way in the mail. They said perhaps by Monday we'll have it, but I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking the sooner the better, but just in convergence with the show, I went out, made precautions, checked the router, unplugged the router, reset the router. The only thing I didn't do was blow it out because the kids used my little, sprayer blower thing just to play around with each other. And I'm like, you guys, even though it's just air, that costs a lot of money. And I don't have a lot of that. I just spent over $200 to keep the show going just for the Spreaker app. Um, yeah, then there's Skype, all that other fun stuff, but I love what I'm doing, and I did think about it for a while before I redid it because unlike other vendors, um, Spreaker came to me in an email and said, guess what? We're about to re-up your show. So we're going to do it on this date. And if you decide you don't want to, let us know freehand because we're going to automatically debit your account. And they did because I did. I wrestled with myself and I'm like, what am I doing? Is this really helping? Am I the only one that enjoys this? And I kind of wonder that, especially now looking at the chat room, there's nobody there. Um, but I'm just assuming it's Labor Day weekend and people are out enjoying the weather, the family, and not laboring, not toiling and laboring. Generally, champs in here, but maybe it's wrestling season. I don't know. Um, there was another point I was going to hit on. Trying to rewind in my mind what I just said because it reminded me of something I was going to say. Okay, so this is what I was going to say. So I intentionally didn't book anything for this weekend because I was going to go to Nutrioso, Arizona, right before you hit mile marker 420 and go visit my family. But um, we had COVID hit our house. I'm going to say for the third time for me, but the second time for the kids and Vern. Um, you guys, most of you that have listened before know that Vern didn't take COVID too kindly last time and actually ended up in ICU with a tube down his throat and in a medically induced coma for over a month. Um, he had a 15%. Sorry, my editor is meowing at the door. Producer Meow, come on in. Come on in, good sir. Hello. What is wrong? I tried to find you to let you outside, but I couldn't find you anywhere. So I think he's stalking the mouse because generally when I talk to him, he will look at me, but he keeps looking right, center, right, center, left. He is looking for this bastardly mouse, which I'm so grateful. Generally, by this time, I've had at least like 5 or 6 jump scares just sitting here in front of my computer. No, it's not from watching YouTube or anything like that. It's from the mouse that is running, it seems like at least like 50 miles per hour towards me. And back in the day, I think it was like 3 or 4 years after we moved into this house, my husband was running a bath, and him and my landlord have been really fast and close friends. I love John White. He's amazing. If it weren't for him, I don't even know where we'd be right now. But yeah, so my husband was running a bath, and I was like, "Hey, hubby, John just showed up," and he's like, "Oh, I'll be right out." Well, you would think he would turn off the bath water. Lo and behold, he didn't, and he totally forgot about it. And then I heard a scream from him about an hour and a half or so later. I don't even know how it didn't go into our room. Maybe that's why the toilet is sinking too. But um, yeah, there's a little divot in the second panel, and it goes down maybe an inch. I want to say like 3/4 to half an inch. But that is where the mouse runs in and out. And I actually caught it in here one time, and it looked so sad. Like, oh my god, please don't see me, please don't kill me. So I just let it be. It was like right under my chair. Should have killed it. But you know what? I've gotten to the point, all my life, I've been so afraid and hated spiders because I had one dig behind my ear, my right ear, lay a cone of eggs, and it made me really, really sick. I had to take some nasty ass medicine. This cone that was an inch popped out of my head, and ever since then, deathly afraid. A couple years ago, looked up a site. This site was about tarantulas, and another horrific memory when I was little. My mom, she liked to get it on, so they made a little pallet for me. The older kids are back home. They took me because I was the baby. Made a little pallet for me, put me on there, next to a pond. Okay, two bad ideas in a row. Um, Decided to go back to the car, leave me there. We'll be right back. So they could, do their doings. And here's this creepy ass brown and black tarantula just creeping towards me. And, it could have been like 5 feet or whatever. It seemed like it was a foot or less. It was about to get me and eat my soul. And I'm screaming my head off. And I don't know who it was, if it was my mom or dad, because I was focused on that damn tarantula in Springdale, Arkansas. But yeah, that thing was going to get me. Maybe it just want to come up and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" But, spiders are pretty creepy looking. Come to find out, they share our same sleep patterns. Pretty cool. They actually have REM sleep. I just read that this week. I was pretty intrigued. But yes, going back to the whole rally thing. Ladies, gentlemen, kids of all ages, nobody is safe in big events like this. And it really doesn't matter where you are anymore. You could be at the opening day of your kid's school and you're taking them to see their teacher and know where their class is so they know where to go the first day and drop off their supplies so they don't have to carry it, etc., etc. The kid almost got kidnapped that way. Or, never leave a drink. So many different things you shouldn't do when going out in public. And it just, I don't know, kind of makes it for people like me where do I really want to go out anymore? And I actually don't. I really like my little cubby here. I like spending time at home. I like, man, I used to tend to my yard so much, but so many crazy things have happened this year. Um, our son-in-law is running a landscaping business. He's broken our push behind weed eater so many times that I can't even weed eat my yard. So I've gone around and done the majority of it with a shovel, just kind of chopping down these weeds before they go to seed, but I wasn't fast enough or strong enough or brilliant enough to get rid of them. But you'd think he owns a landscaping business. He uses our equipment. Wouldn't you think he'd come over here and tend to our freaking yard too? I just saw him over there yesterday, ride lawn mowing his yard, and I'm just like, it must be nice. It's like a jungle out there. I kind of like it, but then when I see I see the seeds bearing on top of the weed plants, I'm just like, no, it's all good. Next year is going to be a better year. This year was pretty hardcore with COVID and all, and shitty roommates. And yeah, speaking of shitty roommates, you know that one particular one that I invited to stay here because he was in a homeless situation for a while, and he and his daughter needed a place to go because even the shelters wouldn't take them anymore. Should have been a red flag in the first place, but first 3 months free, paid 2 months, didn't pay the last. It said because he didn't have any money. I know he did. I cleaned his room, I found the statements, and I'm going to return them. But I did make copies because, bitch, we are gonna go to court. But anywho's, like, that, having him here, finally kicked him out. He just ran into my husband yesterday and lied again. Oh yeah, I never had that amount of money because, I don't. Sorry, bank statements say otherwise. And then my brother, I love my brother to death, but I am very empathic and intuitive, and when people are having issues and they're close to me, that gives me issues too. So I was just grateful that he went back home to take care of his shenanigans. Hopefully it works out. Um, yeah, finally got my home back, except for the Mises to pieces, and the freaking grasshoppers. Um, yeah. But no, I am so grateful, so happy. Big thing to me right now that's very draining is the dream realm. I don't know if any of you are dealing with that as well. If you have really crazy dreams or dreams that seem like you can't tell if it's a dream or not because it seems so real, oh my gosh, you guys, give me a call, 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596 because I want to hear about it. And I thought it was just me because I've just been so drained. And like I said, we went through round three, aka two, for some of us in the household of COVID. And so all I wanted to do was sleep. And I don't know, even after that, like some of the dreams I have now are just so vivid, so real, and so strange. It's really, really blowing my mind. So yes, if you have any dream stories, be sure to get with me. 970-335-9596. Um, or shoot me an email. We are paradoxmedia@gmail.com. Excuse me. I had to take off my bracelet. My husband bought me this bracelet, and it's got a magnet. See, right now there's a pair of eyebrow clipper scissors attached to it, but it's got a magnet that puts it around your wrist. My husband thought every single bead on this bracelet was magnetic, but it's just the connector part. You got to be careful when you put it on because it can pinch if you have any skin going on there close to it. Um, but yeah, I had a magnetite. Is that what it's called? Melanite, magnetite. I can't remember. Anywho's, this necklace broke, and I didn't want to sit there and pick up every bead individually, blah blah blah, on the floor because there's not a lot of space in here. So I used the magnet part of this bracelet and picked up all the beads except for the little jade colored ones, but it made my job so much easier. So if you continuing on with the show, as far as where you can find us, if you want to listen to us on your free time, all you gotta do is look under We Are Paradox Media on Spreaker. You can do that live and pre-record. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, Podvine, and Amazon. So I'm not sure if Amazon has like a podcast section or what, but what I've seen on my emails is Amazon Music. So maybe podcasts are under that. But yeah, man, the list is getting long. And there might be some other places. I've gotten a couple other notifications. Like I said, life is so busy, it's really hard to keep track of that stuff. But generally, anywhere you want to listen to, you can listen to us. Please make sure, because we are off ground again, because like I said, a shitty ass roommate and weekday host red flagged my account on YouTube so many freaking times. Yes, I do admit it happened once for me, and it was something to do with binaural beats and healing, and maybe we mentioned COVID, but we didn't say anything like really out of line about COVID. But yeah, I got flagged for that once. I think 3 or 4 times with this other gentleman or fella. But yeah, go on to We Are Paradox Media under YouTube. Please subscribe. Please like any video that you have taken part in. And make sure you give that bell a little tickle. That way, next time we have an episode come out, just like right now, aka 31 and 20 seconds ago, um, yeah, you'll be made aware. And please leave a comment. Yeah, I like the show. No, I didn't. Hey, find another book. Guess what? I'm almost done with this. Or, hey, could you get this certain host or guest or whoever on? Doesn't matter if they're a radio host or paranormal guest or an actor or whatever. I will contact them. And you never know. Sometimes the biggest names are like, yeah, for sure, I'll come on. Maybe they're bored. I don't know. And then other ones are like, Hey, how about you give us some credentials so we can make sure it's worth our time? Hmm, I don't know, man. So, what we've been doing on story time so far is reading from, I shan't say so far, but just recently, at least the last 2 months, because holy schnackies, I think this is the biggest book I've read so far, or the one with the smallest print. um, but it's Bram Stoker's Dracula. We all remember that from the 90s, don't we? It's been super good. Oh my gosh, we're getting so close. Getting so close. Frankenstein is coming up. So 316 is where we're leaving off, and 265 is where we're starting. So I don't know, we might finish it tonight. It might take tomorrow, unless we get somebody. That's another thing. If somebody wants to come in and hang out with me tomorrow night, that'd be awesome. If not, I might be reading from this book. I might be reading from Reddit scary stories or something different than ghost stories. Something different. But yeah, I'm sure I could pull something out of my sleeve since the trip was canceled. At least you don't have to listen to replays, right? I mean, that's a good thing. All right, so before we begin, I'm going to take a swig off my water. Mm-hmm. Water, sweet nectar of life. Oh, here we go with the Roman numerals again. I believe it's chapter 26. Chapter XXIV. Is that chapter 26? I'm not sure. Also, let me pull up these effects because you guys know how I like to use effects in chapters. Let's start with one, shall we? Dr. Seward's phonograph diary, spoken by Van Helsing. And once again, you guys, this is Bram Stoker Dracula. This to Jonathan Harker. You are to stay with your dear Madam Mina. We shall go to make our search, if I can call it so, for it is not a search but knowing, and we seek confirmation only. But do you stay and take care of her today? This is your best and most holiest office. This day nothing can find him here. Let me tell you that so you will know what we for already I have told them. He, our enemy, have gone away. He have gone back to his castle in Transylvania. I know it so well, as if a great hand of fire wrote it on the wall. He hath prepared for this in some way, and that last earth box was ready to ship somewhere. For this he took the money. For this he hurried at the last, lest we catch him before the sun go down. It was his last hope, save that he might hide in the tomb, that he think poor Miss Lucy, being as he thought like him, keep open to him. But there was naught of time. When that fell, he make straight for his last resource, his last earthwork, I might say, did I wish double entente. He is clever, oh, so clever. He know that his game here was finished, and so he decided to go back home. We find ship going by the route he came, and he go in it. We go off now to find what ship and whither bound. When we have discovered that, we come back and tell you all. Then we will comfort you and poor dear Madam Mina with new hope. For it will be hope when you think it over, that all is not lost. This very creature that we pursue, who take hundreds of years to get so far as London, and yet in one day When we know of the disposal of him, we drive him out. He is finite, though he is powerful to do much harm and suffers not as we do. But we are strong, each in our purpose, and we are all more strong together. Take heart afresh, dear husband of Madam Mina. This battle is but begun, and in the end we shall win. So sure is that God sits on high to watch over his children. Therefore be of much comfort till we return. Van Helsing. I got creeped out because something touched my Achilles tendon and my heel, and it was little Gato, Kung Pao kitten. He's so cute. He's in here, like I said, he's on high alert. He knows there's a Mises that needs to go to pieces in here, and he's been skating around the hole, and yep, he was behind my feet. Now he's right in front of me. He's so freaking cute. Jonathan Harker's Journal, 4 October. When I read to Mina Van Helsing's message in the phonograph, the poor girl brightened up considerably. Already the certainty that the Count is out of the country has given her comfort, and comfort is strength to her. For my own part, now that this horrible danger is not face to face with us, it seems almost impossible to believe in it. Even my own terrible experiences in Castle Dracula seem like a long-forgotten dream. Here, in the crisp autumn air, in the bright sunlight. Alas, how can I disbelieve? In the midst of all my thought, my eye fell on the red scar on my poor darling's white forehead. Whilst that lasts, there can be no disbelief, and afterwards that very memory of it will keep faith crystal clear. Mina and I fear to be idle, so we have been over all the diaries again and again. Somehow, although the reality seems greater each time, the pain and the fear seem less. There is something of a guiding purpose manifest throughout, which is comforting. Mina says that perhaps we are the instruments of ultimate good. It may be. I shall try to think as she does. We have never spoken to each other yet of the future. It is better to wait till we see the professor and the others after their investigations. The day is running more quickly than I ever thought a day could run for me again. It is now 3 o'clock. Mina Harker's Journal, 5 October, 5 p.m. All meeting for report. Present, Professor Van Helsing, Lord Godalming, Dr. Seward, Mr. Quincy Morris, Jonathan Harker, and Mina Harker. Dr. Van Helsing described what steps were taken during the day to discover on what boat and whither boat Count Dracula made his escape. As I knew that he wanted to get back to Transylvania, I felt sure that he must go by the Duna mouth, or by somewhere in the Black Sea, since by that way he come. It was a dreary blank that was before us, omni ignotum pro magnifico, and so with heavy hearts we start to find what ships leave for the Black Sea last night. He is in sailing ship, since Madam Mina tells of sails being set. These not so important as to go in your list of shipping in the Times, and so we go, by suggestion of my Lord Godalming, to your Lloyd's, where are note of all ships that sail, however so small. There we find that only one Black Sea-bound ship go out with the tide. She is the Zirna Catherine, and she sailed from Dusseldorf for Varna and thence on to other parts, and up Dunop. So, said I, this is the ship whereon is the Count. So off we go to Doolittle's wharf, and there we find a man in an office of wood so small that the man looked bigger than the office. From him we inquire of the goings of the Czarina Catherine. He sweat much, and he red-faced and of loud voice, but he good fellow all the same. And when Quincy give him something from his pocket, would crackle as he roll it up, and put it in so small a bag which he have hid deep in his clothing. He still better fellow and humble servant to us. He come with us, and ask many men who are rough and hot. These be better fellows too, when they have been no more thirsty. They say much of blood and bloom, and of others which comprehend not, though I guess what they mean. But nevertheless they tell us all things which we want to know. They make known to us among them how last afternoon at about 5 o'clock comes a man so hurry, a tall man, thin and pale, with high nose and teeth so white, and eyes that seem to be burning, that he be all in black, except that he have a hat of straw, which suit not him all the time, that he scattered his money in making quick inquiry as to what ship sails for the Black Sea and for where. Some took him to the office and then to the ship, where he will not go aboard but halt at shore end of gangplank, and ask that the captain come to him. The captain come, when that he will be paid well, and though he swear much, at first he agreed to term. Then the thin man go to some one, tell him where horse and cart can be hired. He go there, and soon he come again, himself driving cart on which is a great box. This he himself lift down. Though it take several to put it on the truck for the ship, he give much talk to captain as to how and where his box is to be placed. But the captain like it not, and swear at him in many tongues, and tell him that if he like he can come and see where it shall be. But he say no, that he come not yet, for that he have much to do. Whereupon the captain tell him that he had better be quick with blood, for that this ship will leave the place of blood before the turn of the tide with blood. Then the thin man smile, and say that of course he must go when he think fit, but he will be surprised if he go quite so soon. The captain swear again, polyglot, and the thin man make him bow, and thank him, and say, excuse me, that he will so far attrude on his kindness as to come aboard before the sailing. Final the captain, more red than ever, and in more tongues, tell him that he doesn't want no Frenchmen, with bloom upon them, and also with blood, and his ship with blood on her also. And so, after asking where there might be close at hand a ship, where he might purchase ship's forms, he departed. No one knew where he went, or blooming well cared, as they said, for they had something else to think of. Well, with blood again, for it soon became apparent that all the Gazarine Catherine would not sell as was expected. A thin mist began to creep up from the river, and it grew and grew, till soon a dense fog. He must have come off by himself, for none noticed him. Polyglot, very polyglot, polyglot with bloom and blood, but he could do nothing. The water rose and rose, and he began to fear that he would lose the tide altogether. He was in no friendly mood when, just at full tide, the thin man came up the gangplank again and asked to see where his box had been stowed. Then the captain replied that he wished that he and his box, old and with much bloom and blood, were in hell. But the thin man did not be offended, and went down with a mate, and saw where it was placed. and came up and stood a while on deck in fog. He must have come off by himself, for none noticed him. Indeed, they thought naught of him, for soon the fog began to melt away, and all was clear again. My friends of the thirst in the language that was of bloom and blood laughed, as they told how the captain swears exceeding even his usual polyglot, and was more than ever full and picturesque. When on questioning other mariners who were in movement up and down the river that hour, he found that few of them had seen any of fog at all, except where it lay round the wharf. However, the ship went out on the ebb tide, and was doubtless by morning far down the river mouth. She was by then, when they told us, well out to sea. And so, my dear Madamina, it is that we have to rest for a time, for our enemy is on the sea, with the fog at his command, on his way to Dunub mouth. The sail a ship takes time, go she never so quick, and when we start we go on land more quick, and we meet him there. Our best hope is to come on him when in the box between sunrise and sunset, for then he can make no struggle, and we may deal with him as we should. There are days for us in which we can make ready our plan. We know all about where he go, for we have seen the owner of the ship, who have shown us invoices and all papers that can be. The box we seek is to be landed in Varna, and to be given to an agent, one Ristix, who will there present his credentials, and so our merchant friend will have done his part. When he asks if there be any wrong, for that so, he can telegraph and have inquiry made at Varna. We say no. What is to be done is not for police or of the customs. It must be done by us alone and in our own way. When Dr. Van Helsing had done speaking, I asked him if it were certain that the Count had remained on board the ship. He replied, "We have the best proof of that. Your own evidence when in the hypnotic trance this morning." I asked him again if it were really necessary that they should pursue the Count, for oh, I dread Jonathan leaving me, and I know that he would surely go if others went. He answered in growing passion, at first quietly. As he went on, however, he grew more angry and more forceful, till in the end we could not but see wherein was at least some of the personal dominance which made him so a long master amongst men. Yes, it is necessary, for your sake in the first, and then for the sake of humanity. This monster has done much harm already in the narrow scope where we find himself, and in the short time when as yet he was only as a body groping his so small measure in the darkness, and not knowing. All this have I told these others. You, my dear Madamina, will learn it in the phonograph of my friend John. All right, Mr. Panda. Hey.
This is Archer's now.
Oh, that's cute. Do you not see the sign on the store right here that says, "Show in progress, do not answer or come in between these hours"?
I thought you were on Sundays. Oh my.
Saturdays and Sundays are the days I do my show, dude.
Oh,
Oh, he's got a Nerf gun and a panda hand puppet.
Yeah.
Aw. Well, make sure here. We gotta take this plastic thing out.
Mom.
What?
So you first put that in.
Mm-hmm.
Then
don't shoot it in here. You're gonna lose it.
I already shot it in here.
Well, you're gonna lose it. It's gonna bounce back there or somewhere where we can't get it. Well, I love you, Sonny. Good to see you.
Love you too. Good to see you too.
Hugs and kisses. All right. Be good.
I will.
What's the point in putting signs up if nobody reads them? All right. So, where are we? For your sake in the first, and then for the sake of humanity, this monster has done much harm already, in the narrow scope where he find himself, and in the short time when as yet he was only as a body groping a so small measure in darkness, and not knowing all this, have I told these others, you, my dear Madam Mina, will learn it in the phonograph of my friend John, or in that of your husband. I have told them how the measure of leaving his own fattened land, barren of people, and coming to a new land where life of the men teems till they are like the multitude of standing corn, was the work of centuries, where another of the undead like him tried to do what he has done. Perhaps not all the centuries of the world that have been, or that will be, could aid him. With this one, all the forces of nature that are occult and deep and strong must have worked together in some wondrous way. The very place where he had been alive and dead for all these centuries is full of strangeness of the geological and chemical world. There are deep caverns and fissures that reach none known whither. There have been volcanoes, some of whose openings still stand out waters of strange properties, and gases that kill or make to vivify. Doubtless there is something magnetic or electric in some of these combinations of occult forces which work for physical life in strange way, and in himself were from the first some great qualities. In a hard and warlike time, he was celebrate that he have more iron nerve, more subtle brain, more braver heart, than any man. In some vital principle have in strange way found their utmost, and as his body keeps strong and grow and thrive, so his brain grow too. All this without that diabolical aid which is surely to him, for it have to yield to the powers that come from and are symbolic of good. And now this is what he is to us. He have infect you, oh forgive me, my dear, that I must say much, but it is for good of you that I speak. He infect you in such wise, that even if he do no more, you have only to live in your own old sweet way. And so in time, death, which is of man's common lot, and with God's sanction, shall make you like him. This must not be. Oh, hold on, Mr. Producer. There you go. Go on. You can go out. Man, trying to find my place. Sorry, guys. And now this is what he is to us. He have infect you. Oh, forgive me, my dear, that I must say such, but it is for good of you that I speak. He infect you in such wise that even if he do no more, you have only to live in your own old sweet way. Yes, I already read that. And so in time, death, which is of man's common lot, and with God's sanction, shall make you like him. This must not be. We have sworn together that it must not. Thus are we ministers of God's own wish, that the world, and men for whom his Son died, will not be given over to monsters, whose very existence would defame him. He have allowed us to redeem one soul already, and we go out as the old knights of the cross to redeem more. Like them we shall travel towards the sunrise, and like them we shall fall. We fall in good cause. He paused and said, but will not the Count take his rebuff wisely, since he has been driven from England? Will he not avoid it, as a trigger does the village from which he has been hunted? On that note, you guys, we're almost to the next chapter. I don't know, maybe I can read it in... I think I can read it in time. Aha, he said, your smile of the tiger good for me, and I shall adopt him. Your man-eater, as they of India call the tiger who has once tasted blood of the human, care no more for other prey, but prowl unceasing till he get him. This that we hunt for our village is a tiger too, a man-eater, and he never ceased to prowl. Nay, in himself, he is not one to retire and stay afar. In his life, his living life, he go over the turkey cornfield and frontier and attack his enemy on his own ground. He be beaten back. But did he stay? No. He come again, and again, and again. Look at his persistence and endurance. With the child brain that was to him, he have long since conceived the idea of coming to a great city. What does he do? He find out the place of all the world most of promise for him. Then he deliberately set himself down to prepare for the task. He find in patience just how is his strength and what are his powers. He study new tongues. He learn new social life, new environment of old ways, the politic, the law, the finance, the science, the habits of a new land and a new people who have come to be since he was. His limbs that he have had whet his appetite only and unkeen his desire. Nay, it help him to grow as to his brain, for it all proved to him how right he was at first in his surmises. He have done this alone, all alone, from a ruined tomb in a forgotten land. What more may he not do when the greater world of thought is open to him? He that can smile at death, as we know him, who can flourish in the midst of diseases that kill off whole peoples. Oh, if such an one was to come from God, and not the devil, what a force for good might he not be in this old world of ours! But we are pledged to set the world free. Our toil must be in silence, and our efforts all in secret. For this enlightened age, when men believe not even what they see, the doubting of wise men would be his greatest strength. It would be at once his sheath and his armor, and his weapons to destroy us, his enemies, who are willing to peril even our own souls for the safety of one we love, for the good of mankind, and for the honor and glory of God. After a general discussion, it was determined that for tonight nothing be definitely settled, and we should all sleep on the facts and try to think out the proper conclusions. Tomorrow at breakfast we ought to meet again, and after making our conclusions known to one another, we shall decide on some course of action. I feel a wonderful peace and rest tonight. It is as if some haunting presence were removed from me, perhaps. My surmise was not finished, could not be, for I caught sight in the mirror of the red mark upon my forehead, and I knew that I was still unclean. On that note, boys and girls, we are going to go to our very first music break. Okay, so when I do, story time, I like to play the breaks that last the longest. So we have Miss Mia Savage, Antidote for Savages. She will be singing for this first break, Our New Reality, Your Skeleton, Singing to Your Grave, and Bury Me in Heaven. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
bullshit that he brings anymore. You're mine. You're mine. Tonight. You're mine. You're mine. You're mine.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. As I said before, I was going to take this weekend off. I actually rearranged the schedule. I was going to go to lovely and beautiful Nutrioso, Arizona to be with my mother and my Aunt Teresa and my Uncle John and visit my grandpa's secondary grave. He has a main one in San Diego, California, with a lot of soldiers, and then some of his remains were laid to rest there in Nutrioso, and um, yes, didn't get to go. We just had COVID again. So, my mom and my sister are about to go on another cruise. So, yeah, I just didn't want to go just in case, somebody was clinging on because my husband and eldest daughter tested positive, even though I was really sick. I tested negative, and that was the third time I've had it, but I don't think I had it this time. I think it was either RSV or the flu because these things are flying around right now, and even the lady in the ER was saying it's really rare for the flu to be going around during the summer, but who knows? So maybe I had a rare form of flu, and maybe that was keeping COVID from getting me. Because even my husband was saying, perhaps you should stay in the guest room or in the living room or somewhere away from me. And I'm like, okay, last night you kept breathing all up in my face. I've been exposed. I'm not going anywhere because I can't sleep when I'm away from him. You know what I mean? So I just stayed there in the comfort of our bedroom and in my own comfy, cozy spot. And, my sleep schedule is all jacked up. It has been for so many years. So as soon as the sun starts to rise, I go to sleep. I kind of feel like a vampire. Or maybe perhaps like Renfield. So we have a kitten, and I'm thinking about naming him Renfield. So far, we've called him Come Pal Kitten, etc., because him and his sister were the only Siamese of the bunch. The rest of them were black. So two black, two Siamese. And then my daughter has a book on cute kittens, and she's like, Mom, I don't think it's Siamese. Maybe it's Siamese or something like that. It was a weird name like that. But my sister Lisa DeWitt, if you guys are from Bayfield, aka Bayberry, you may know the infamous Lisa DeWitt. She is an amazing person. A very, very light, bright in the world, but yeah, she's like, he's a 7-point Siamese, and I'm like, maybe he's an 8 or 9-point because what about the balls and other things going on there? There's a couple more brown spots going on. So I'm thinking maybe an 8-point because I don't know. Sorry. Please forgive me, but no, seriously, there's more than 7 brown spots on this poor little kitten. But tonight, since I did go void of we were supposed to have Psychic Chris Garcia on tonight, he won't be on until the 17th. And then the 4th, I just never booked anything because I was like, maybe I'm going. And then I recently discovered we're not. We're just gonna wait till spring break and go then because the fishing's better, everything's better. Everything's better with cheddar. But yeah, happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. So glad you can join us if you're there. The chat is very silent, but that doesn't mean you're not listening. And keep in mind, I'm only keeping track of the chat that is on Spreaker. So if you want to come into the chat room and say hello, come on over to Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media. Also, you can give me a call, 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596. If you have a paranormal or unexplained something you want to talk about, or if you just want to chat and say hello and talk about the state of the world today, hey, I don't mind. I like to chat it up with my peeps. There's nothing more I'd love than to do that. Yeah, Bury Me in Heaven, Miss Mia Savage with her musical creation, Antidote for Savages. I love this girl. She is originally from Phoenix, Arizona. She's a snowbird, so during the summer she comes here, and her seasons here are getting longer, and the seasons down in Phoenix are getting shorter. So, being Coloradan really rubs off on you. And, I think she's becoming more of a Colorado bird than a snowbird. So, I don't know. We shall see what we shall see. So we're on page 271 in our book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Mr. Seward's Diary, 5 October. We all rose early, and I think that sleep did much for each and all of us. When we met at early breakfast, there was more general cheerfulness than any of us had ever expected to experience again. It is really wonderful how much resilience there is in the human nature. Let any obstruction caused, no matter what, be removed in any way, even by death, and we fly back to the first principles of hope and enjoyment. More than once, as we sat around the table, my eyes opened in wonder whether the whole of the past days had not been a dream. It was only when I caught sight of the red blotch in Mrs. Harker's forehead that I was brought back to reality. Even now, when I am gravely resolving the matter, it is almost impossible to realize that the cause of all of our trouble is still existent. Even Mrs. Harker seems to lose sight of her trouble for the whole spells. It is only now and again, when something recalls it to her mind, that she thinks of the terrible scar. We are to meet here in the study in half an hour and decide on our course of action. I see only one immediately difficulty. I know it by instinct rather than reason. We shall all have to speak frankly, and yet I fear that in some mysterious way poor Mrs. Harker's tongue is tied. I know that she forms how true they must be, but she will not or cannot give them utterance. I've mentioned this to Van Helsing, and he and I are to talk it over when we are alone. I suppose it is some of that horrid poison which has got into her veins beginning to work. The Count had his own purposes when he gave her what Van Helsing called the vampire's baptism of blood. Well, there may be a poison that distills itself out of good things, in an age when the existence of remains is a mystery. We should not wonder at anything. One thing I know, that if my instinct be true regarding poor Mrs. Harker's silences, then there is a terrible difficulty, an unknown danger, in the work before us. The same power that compels her silence may compel her speech. I dare not think further, for so I should in my thoughts dishonor a noble woman. Van Helsing is coming to my study a little before the others. I shall try to open the subject with them later. When the professor came in, we talked over the state of things. I could see that he had something on his mind which he wanted to say, but felt some hesitancy about broaching the subject. After beating about the bush a little, he said suddenly, "Friend John, there is something that you and I must talk of alone. Just at the first, at any rate. Later, we may have to take others into our confidence." Then he stopped, so I waited, and he went on. "Madam Mina, our poor dear Madam Mina, is changing. A cold shiver ran through me to find my worst fears thus endorsed." Van Helsing continued, "With the sad experience of Miss Lucy, we must this time be warned before things go too far. Our task is now, in reality, more difficult than ever, and this new trouble makes every hour of the direst importance. I can see the characteristics of the vampire coming in her face. It is now but very, very slight, but it is to be seen if we have eyes to notice without the prejudice. Her teeth are some sharper, and at times her eyes are more hard, but these are not all. There is to her the silence now often, as so it was with Miss Lucy. She did not speak, even when she wrote that which she wished to be known later. Now, my fear is this: if it be that she can, by our hypnotic trance, tell what the Count see and hear, is it not more true that he who have hypnotized her first, and who have drink of her blood, and make her drink of his, should, if he will, compel her mind to disclose to him that which she know?" I nodded acquiescence. He went on, "And what we must do is to prevent this. We must keep her ignorant of our intent, and so she cannot tell what she know not. This is a painful task, oh, so painful that it heartbreak me to think of. But it must be. When today we meet, I must tell her that for some reason which we will not speak, she must not more be of our counsel, but be simply guarded by us." He wiped his forehead, which had broken out in profuse perspiration at the thought of the pain which he might have to inflict upon the poor soul already so tortured. I knew that it would be some sort of comfort to him if I told him that I also had come to the same conclusion, for at any rate it would take away the pain of doubt. I told him, and the effect was as I expected. It is now close to the time of our general gathering. Van Helsing has gone away to prepare for the meeting, and his painful part of it. I really believe his purpose is to be able to pray alone. Later. At the very outset of our meeting, a great personal relief was experienced by both Van Helsing and myself. Mrs. Harker had sent a message by her husband to say that she would not join us at present, as she thought it better that we should be free to discuss our movements without her presence to embarrass us. The professor and I looked at each other for an instant, and somehow we both seemed relieved. For my own part, I thought that Mrs. Harker realized the danger herself. There was much pain as well as much danger averted. Under the circumstances, we agreed, by a questioning look and answer, with finger on lip, to preserve silence of our suspicions until we should have been able to confer alone again. We went at once into our plain campaign. Van Helsing roughly put the facts before us. "The Serena Catherine left the Thames yesterday morning. It will take her at the quickest speed she has ever made at least 3 weeks to reach Varna, but we can travel overland to the same place in 3 days. Now, if we allow for 2 days less for the ship's voyage, owing to such weather influences as we know that the Count can bring to bear, and if we allow a whole day and night for any delays which may occur to us, then we have a margin of nearly 2 weeks. Thus, in order to be quite safe, we must leave here on the 17th at latest. Then we shall at any rate be in Varna a day before the ship arrives, and able to make such preparations as may be necessary. Of course, we shall all go armed against evil things, spiritual as well as physical." Here Quincey Morris added, "I understand the Count comes from a wolf country, and it may be that he will get there before us. I propose that we add Winchesters to our armament. I have a kind of belief in Winchester when there is any trouble of that sort around. Do you remember, Art, when we had that pack after us at Tobolsk? What wouldn't we have given then for a repeater apiece?" "Good," said Van Helsing. "Winchesters it shall be. Quincy's head is level at all times, but most so when there is to hunt, though my metaphor be more dishonour to science than wolves be of danger to man. In the meantime, we can do nothing here, and as I think that Varna is not familiar to any of us, why now go there more soon? It is as long to wait here as there. Tonight and tomorrow we can get ready, and then, if all be well, we four can set out to our journey." "We four?" said Harker interrogatively, looking from one to another of us. "Of course," said the professor quickly. "You must remain to take care of your sweet wife." Harker was silent for a while, and then said in a hollow voice, "Less of that part. In the morning I want to consult with Mina." I thought that now was the time for Van Helsing to warn him not to disclose our plans to her, but he took no notice. I looked at him significantly and coughed. For answer he put his finger on his lips and turned away. Jonathan Harker's Journal, 5 October afternoon. For some time after our meeting this morning, I could not think. The new phases of things leave my mind in a state of wonder, which allows no room for active thought. Mina's determination not to take any part in the discussion set me thinking, and as I could not argue the matter with her, I could only guess. I am as far as ever from a solution now. The way others received it, too, puzzled me. The last time we walked with the subject, we agreed that there was to be no more concealment of anything amongst us. Mina is sleeping now, calmly and sweetly like a little child. Her lips are curved and her face beams with happiness. Thank God there are such moments still for her. Later. How strange it all is! I sat watching Mina's happy sleep, and came as near to being happy myself as I suppose I shall ever be. As the evening drew on, the earth took its shadows from the sun sinking lower. The silence of the room grew more and more solemn to me. All at once Mina opened her eyes, and looking at me tenderly said, "Jonathan, I want you to promise me something on your word of honor. A promise made to me, but made wholly in God's hearing, and not to be broken, though I should go down on my knees and implore you with bitter tears. Quick, you must make it to me at once." "Mina," I said, "a promise like that I cannot make at once. I may have no right to make it." "But, dear one," she said, with such spiritual intensity that her eyes were like pole stars, "it is I who wish it, and it is not for myself. You can ask Dr. Van Helsing if I am right. If he disagrees, you may do as you will. Nay, more, if you all agree, later, you are absolved from the promise." "I promise," I said. For a moment she looked supremely happy, though to me all happiness for her was denied by the red scar on her forehead, and she said, "Promise me that you will not tell me anything of the plans formed for the campaign against the Count, not by word or inference or implication, not any time whilst there remains to me." And she solemnly pointed to the scar. I saw that she was earnest, and said solemnly, "I promise." And as I said it, I felt that that instant a door had been shut between us. Later, midnight. Mina has been bright and cheerful all evening, so much so that all the rest seemed to take courage, as if infected somewhat with her gaiety. As a result even, I myself felt as if the pall of the gloom which weighs us down were somewhat lifted. We all retired early. Mina is now sleeping like a little child. It is a wonderful thing that her faculty of sleep remains to her in the midst of her terrible trouble. Thank God for it, for then at least she can forget her care. Perhaps her example may affect me as her gaiety did tonight. I shall try it. Oh, for a dreamless sleep. 6 October morning. Another surprise. Mina woke me early, about the same time as yesterday, and asked me to bring Dr. Van Helsing. I thought that it was another occasion of hypnotism, and without gesture went for the professor. He had evidently expected some such call, for I found him dressed in his room. His door was ajar, so that he could hear the opening of the door of our room. He came at once. As he passed into the room, he asked Mina if the others might come too. "No," she said, quite simply. "It will not be necessary. You can tell them just as well. I must go with you on your journey." Dr. Van Helsing was startled, as I was. After a moment's pause, he asked, "But why?" "You must take me with you. I'm safer with you, and you shall be safer too." "But why, dear Madam Mina? You know that your safety is our solemnest duty. We go into danger to which you are, or may be, more liable than any of us from circumstances, things that have been." He paused, embarrassed. When she replied, he raised his finger and pointed to her forehead. "I know. That is why I must go. I can tell you now, whilst the sun is coming up. I may not be able again. I know that when the Count wills me, I must go. I know that if he tells me to come in secret, I must come by wile, by any advice, to hoodwink, even Jonathan. God saw the look that she turned on me as she spoke, and if there be indeed a recording angel that is noted to her everlasting honor, I could only clasp her hand. I could not speak. My emotion was too great for even the relief of tears. She went on. You men are brave and strong. You are strong in your number, for you can defy that which would break down the human endurance of one who had to guard alone. Besides, I may be of service, since you can hypnotize me and so learn that which even I myself do not know. Dr. Van Helsing said gravely, Madam Mina, you are, as always, most wise. You shall with us come, and together we shall do that which we go forth to achieve. When he had spoken, Mina's long spell of silence made me look at her. She had fallen back on her pillow asleep. She did not even wake when I had pulled up the blind to let in the sunlight which flooded the room. Van Helsing motioned to me to come with him quietly. We went to his room, and within a minute Lord Godalming, Dr. Seward, and Mr. Morris were with us also. He told them what Mina had said and went on. In the morning we shall leave for Varna. We have now to deal with a new factor, Madam Mina. Oh, but her soul is true. It is to her an agony to tell us so much as she has done. But it is most right, and we are warned in time. There must be no chance lost, and in Varna we must be ready to act the instant when that ship arrives. What shall we do exactly? Asked Mr. Morris, iconically. The professor paused before replying. We shall have the first board the ship. Then, when we have identified the box, we shall place a branch of the wild rose on it. This we shall fasten, for when it is there none can emerge. So at least says the superstition. And to superstition must we trust at first. It was man's faith in the early, and it have its root in faith and still. Then we get the opportunity that we seek. When none are near to see, we shall open the box and will be well. I shall not wait for any opportunity, said Mr. Morris. When I see the box, I shall open it, destroy the monster, though there were 1,000 men looking on, and if I am to be wiped out from that next moment, grasped his hand instinctively and found it as firm as a piece of steel. I think he understood my look. I hope he did. Good boy, said Dr. Van Helsing. Brave boy, Quincy is all man. God bless him for it. My child, believe me, none of us shall lag behind or pause from any fear. I do but say what we may do, what we must do. But indeed, we cannot say what we shall do. There are so many things which may happen, and their ways and their ends are so various, that until the moment we may not say. We shall all be armed in all ways, and when the time for the end has come, our efforts shall not be lack. Now let us today put all our affairs in order. Let things which touch on others dear to us, and who on us depend, be complete. For none of us can tell what, or when, or how the end may be. As for me, my affairs are regulate, and as I have nothing else to do, I shall go make arrangement for the travel. I shall have all tickets and so forth, our journey. There is nothing further to be said, and we parted. I shall now settle all my affairs of earth, and be ready for whatever may come. Later. It is all done. My will is made, and all complete. Mina, if she survive, my sole heir. If it should not be so, then the others, who have been so good to us, will have remainder. is now drawing towards the sunset. Mina's uneasiness calls my attention to it. I am sure that there is something on her mind which the time of exact sunset will reveal. These occasions are becoming harrowing times for us all, for each may, in God's will, be means to a good end. I believe it is, for each sunrise and sunset opens up some new danger, some new pain, which, however, may, in God's will, be means to a good end. I write all these things in the diary, since my darling must not hear them now. But if it may be that she can see them again, they shall be ready. She is calling me. So I'm thinking, boys and girls, instead of continuing on for 3.5 more pages, that we shall actually go to our second music break. On this break, we have Miss Mia Savage, Homeland, Phoenix, Arizona, Snowbirdland, Bayfield, Colorado. So, in the summer, she stays here in Bayfield. In the winter, she goes to Phoenix. The time has been getting shorter and shorter and shorter each time, so perhaps in the future she shall just remain a Bayberry, Baytucky, whatever you want to call it, bird. But yes, she has a band that she has named Antidote for Savages, and she will be singing Not a Phase, Let Me Be Your Home, The Bottom Line, and last but not least, Lumerian Crypto. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Break us out of this circle.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. We're actually a little higher than Mile High, but hey, this this was no time to brag. Anywho's, I'm grateful for all of you out there that are listening. I just wonder, like, we're out there on so many outlets. Is anybody in the chat rooms out here? Because there's nobody in the chat room on Spreaker. And I do understand it is Labor Day weekend, but it just makes me wonder how many people are listening and how can you tell? But, as I've said before, for the first 2 hours, we read from Bram Stoker's Dracula. For the third hour, we come to you with Reddit ghost stories. And this is generally like my favorite time of the evening. I don't know, for some reason it just seems to fly by so quickly. I just really love and enjoy it. So let us begin with Reddit ghost stories. So this one is on Reddit Ghost Stories under you, beloved stoneworker. Robert could recognize probably the worst paranormal thing that has happened to me. Woke up one morning to hear my brother get in the shower as he did before he went to school. We stayed in the same room, mind you. I turned my back to face the wall as my bed was against it. From the doorway, I could begin to hear someone breathing, loudly, as if it was nostril breathing like a bull. I think I was just frozen as it got closer and closer to me until I could feel whatever it was right behind me. It faded back out, however, I ran to the living room in a panic. My brother came back out of the shower as it scared me so bad I was crying. We then heard something from my sister's room, which was right beside mine, fall down. Could never explain it. I think about that. And that night, a lot. And then they added an LOL because when you feel uncomfortable and you're telling these stories, sometimes, depending on how you deal with anxiety, panic, fear, other things, you may laugh. Even sometimes when I'm being attacked or I hit my head, I laugh. It's just kind of a nervous tick I have. So this one is on Reddit Ghost Stories under the same person. My cousin. Okay, and this person is beloved stoneworker, just in case you didn't know. This is going to be very dark, but my cousin Christopher took himself from his world when he was 17 by way of hanging. Everyone in my family was absolutely devastated, as you'd expect. Here's where it starts, though. My uncle Stephen has said that Christopher personally led him out to the back of the house to find him there. Only problem is, he had already gone for a few hours. So what did he see that led him there? Doesn't end there, though, because much later, my aunt got a call from his phone despite the fact that no one knew his passcode before he died. She didn't answer it, though, for fear of what was on the other end of the call. His nephew Adam, who was about 4 at the time, also somehow mimicked the manner of his passing despite the fact that everyone swears they never told Adam. It could be explained by the fact that he has said that he would talk to Christopher sometimes, or maybe someone is lying. I don't know. Lastly, on the way to his candlelight vigil, my stepdad got a random text from someone with his name that said, "I love you, baby," or something along those lines. Just a crazy coincidence or something more? There's just so much mystery to everything that I've heard from people, and it seems like there are no explanations that could make sense. Under Reddit Ghost Stories, this is you /massive_voice 6736. Headless Woman of Iroquois Park and Serial Killers. Okay, story time. My buddies and I have a YouTube and TikTok where we go to places with urban legends and ghost stories and get wasted there on camera. We live in the Louisville area, so we had recently hit a lot of the major spots in the area and decided to end it off with Iroquois Park. We'd known all of the stories. The headless woman who's supposed to appear on foggy nights, the serial killers who ended the victims' lives, etc. So we pull up to the park late at night with our film and lighting equipment. Keep in mind, we hadn't had a drop at this moment. We're walking on the closed road in the park, and right away you can tell that the real danger in coming into this park at night is the pure isolation you have at the top of the hill. While it's supposed to be a beautiful nighttime view, in Louisvillian will tell you not to go in at night. We get to the top after walking about an hour, and it's apparent that my buddies are just as sketched out as I am, so we decide to do full lap before we set up. We're about halfway through the lap, having heard the dogs barking, seen the fog, and even smelt burning wood, when we stumble upon a point with a large stone wall. In the dark, it looked to us like there was a figure sitting on the wall, swaying back and forth, but much taller than the average person. I immediately get freaked out and say, on camera, I see somebody by the wall. We turn our lights off and sit for a second trying to work out the figure in the dark. I start to turn around thinking it was a homeless person, up to no good, but my friend on camera decides to approach it. By the time we get to the point, it was sitting, there's nothing there. Scared the shit out of me. Not sure how scared my buddies were because I couldn't see their faces in the dark. Not sure it was, but I'm at the moment. See, there's a lot of spelling like inaccuracies here. Not sure what it was, but in the moment, it got our hearts pumping. While this isn't a promotion, our channel is called The Booze Brothers, and that's BOOS Brothers. And in case you're interested in seeing the video, go ahead and look there. There's no comments or anything, but pretty intriguing. And I've heard a lot about that park. I don't know about you guys, but pretty intriguing. This one is on Reddit Ghost Stories. User certain-wasabi9959. A ghost or my brain messing with me? Encounter. When I was little, I lived with my mom and dad, and one day I seen a guy walk past the window, and me and my dad seen the person walk past, and I said to everyone in the house, "Who is that?" And my mom responded, "No, I didn't." And my dad went to go see who it was, and the person that we seen wasn't there. He was nowhere to be seen or found. Thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, or it was something paranormal. Who knows? Sounds abnormal, could be paranormal, which is something other than normal. Hard to say. This one is by user Valkyrie200. I think I had an encounter with something evil. I'm going to start by saying that I have an anxiety disorder and depression. When I feel super anxious or depressed, I'll go downstairs and lay down with my dog. Now, this happened yesterday. I bought a haunted doll on eBay, and none of the animals had an issue with her. They would sniff, lick, and try to play with her. I was downstairs last night, and I could hear my dog snoring. He suddenly, and without warning, jerked away and began growling at something in the corner. He was fully alert, and my cat had his fur raised. I felt a chill and immediately went upstairs. I know it wasn't the spirit in the doll, but I don't know what it was. This one is by user/beloved stoneworker. Memories of a ghost photo. Once I had my parents take a picture of my siblings and I when we were very young, dressing up as the opposite gender for fun. In the top corner of the photo, you can see the face of an angry Asian person, or possibly a Native American. I don't have the photo, seeing as it was so long ago, and of course we'd lose it. But I have memories of it and wish I could show it to people. This one is by user/salty and bitter bitch. Aggressive ghosts. I'd start by saying that I, 19 years old, and a female, have always lived in a house filled with spirits. Not malicious, just jokers. And up until this morning, it had been that way for all my life. It was normal, basically. Things will go missing, reappeared in odd places, would smell and hear things, and sometimes even see things. Rarely. All of that was normal and didn't bother us, but this morning at 6 a.m., I had stayed awake all night on my phone, and at 6:20 roughly, I heard my brother, 20-year-old male, make an explanation of pain. He came out of his room to say he'd been woken up by his Amazon Echo Alexa straight thrown at his head, launched across the room. And normally, had he said any other object was thrown at him, I would have believed he was joking. But for a joke, he wouldn't have said his Alexa, and I actually felt blunt force trauma when I touched his head. It's disturbing. We've never had to worry about the possible aggressive spirit, or whatever it is, and we hope that this one time was enough for it, and that it moves on quickly. So yeah, this is the first encounter we've ever had with a seemingly malicious spirit, and I'm hoping that it never happens again. This one is by user/salamander__. Spirits or my brain making things up. Started having sleep paralysis around the time I was 18. I've seen and heard it all, and I've gone through some really scary situations while having sleep paralysis. Even the ones where you think you've woken up until all hell breaks loose all over again to demonic whispers in my ear and someone touching my back. So just trust me, I've gone through some shit. Eventually, over the years, I figured out a way to get out of sleep paralysis, ASAP, and I don't get it as much anymore, and whenever I do break out of it, before it even gets even more intense. But this one instance was extremely peculiar and really tripped me out. I was in a dream. I don't exactly remember what I was dreaming about. It was just a very regular, non-happening, random kind of dream. I suddenly started feeling uneasy, and a sense of dread filled me in the dream. I couldn't understand why, and the feeling of dread started to intensify. I felt like I was being watched. And so, in that very moment, I woke up. I hadn't opened my eyes yet. It was when I was just coming to. I felt shuffling on the bed covers right behind my back, as if someone was rubbing their hand against the bed right behind me, and then a whisper from the other side of my bed said, "Don't wake him up like." Opened my eyes very quickly and lifted my head off the pillow to make sure I was awake, and felt my eyelids were really heavy, which meant I was having slight sleep paralysis. Eventually, I just went back to sleep and didn't think much of it. It wasn't until later in the day where I remembered this had happened, and the more I thought about it, the more creeped out I got. I was having sleep paralysis, but was unaware of it at the time. In the dream, I felt like I was being watched, waking up to the shuffling and the whisper telling whatever was causing the shuffling to not do that. It was all just so specific and correlated. I've had really, really scary sleep paralysis moments, but this was one that was just so weird. This is by u/Subinia, Subenia. Mimic spirit. We had recently moved into a new big house in a small village near the city. We had 2 floors, and the rooms were downstairs and the living room area upstairs. At the living room, we had this 10-meter long balcony door that you could see all the way to the city, as we were first house of the village. So one night, around 7 p.m., I was sitting with my mom watching TV on the couch. My father was taking my 2 sisters to the gymnastics practice. I liked to watch the cars leaving towards the city and disappearing into the distance, so that's what I did with my father's car. After a while, I turned again towards the TV. A few minutes passed by, and I clearly heard my little sister giggling loudly from downstairs. I was horrified as I just saw my sisters getting in the car and leaving with my father. However, the TV was loud, and I reassured myself that it was a sound from the TV probably. Then I see my mom standing up and reaching for the TV remote, and she asked me if I heard my sister giggling. I told her that I did, and together we went toward the stairs. Then my mom called my sister twice with no reply. We stood there for 10 seconds and everything was quiet. All of a sudden, we both hear my father screaming, "Hey!" My mom ran in the kitchen, called my father, and asked him, "Where are they?" He replied that they just arrived at the city. Then my mom grabbed a golf club, and together we went downstairs as we thought it was probably a robber taunting us. We searched every end of the house, inside wardrobes and under beds. No one was there. This happened in the middle of winter and all the windows were closed, so this wasn't somebody from outside. This one is by user, aka u/Linsky02, Hearing Voices. I usually hear someone calling my name whenever I'm home alone. It usually happens between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Sometimes I can hear my name clearly, and sometimes just like a breathing beside me. There are also times that I just wake up early in the morning. If I look at my phone, it's always 3 a.m. I don't feel nervous or anything. Is this normal? I don't know what's happening. Maybe I have a hearing sickness and all those 3 a.m. wake-ups are just all coincidences? Is that a ghost? Do I need to connect with it? I just don't know how. This one is by u/_Ivers, Lady in the Bushes. This happened around June last summer, and it's all I can think about. I was on a ghost tour with my cousin, and the tour guide's third stop was this old house next to a modernish shed house. He was explaining how there's a ghost girl who floats in the air and scratches and pinches people. I was enjoying myself until I glanced up at the bushes and saw this lady's head. She had black hair and makeup, and we made eye contact, and he smiled, revealing his red-yellow color in her mouth, and she was, like, really pale. I watched her, like, float backwards into the bushes. I was freaking out. I didn't think it was real. My cousin, older, saw I was freaked out, and I told him, and he said he saw the bush moving, but no lady. So I talked to the tour guide, and he said that ghost girl had brown hair, but then he said something that made me realize what I saw was real. He said the mother of the girl in black hair and bags under her eyes, and when she died, she was sick and pale. I still constantly wonder if what I saw was real or not. I would really like some help. This one under Reddit Ghost Stories, under u/glass_push 2774. Just going to tell you, and this is under haunting. So, when I was little, we lived in a haunted house. My parents got strung out on crack. Sucks, right? But yeah, so they started to neglect us horribly. I mean, 24/7 locked up in their room. At one point, I was playing with my sisters, two older by 3 and 4 years, and my little sister 3 years younger. I was about 5 years old. So, I was being a pest, and my sisters say, if you don't stop messing around, we will kick you out. I didn't stop, so I got kicked out. I went into the living room all alone. After about 2 seconds, I look in the kitchen and I see a ghost, aka demon, that looked identical to my little sister, nappy hair from not being combed and dirty from not being bathed in I don't know how long. It was standing in the kitchen, then walked to the door that was on the other side of their room, the one I just got kicked out of, and was out of sight. I knew it wasn't my sister because the color was way off. It didn't have fleshy color, and I see through, but very detailed and flawless. I believe that thing wanted me to go over, and I believe it was for evil reasons. I was frozen, couldn't move for I don't know how long, and it felt like the whole experience took longer than it probably did. I ran to my parents' room, frantic banging on their door, and they didn't open. They said, "We are taking a shower." Side note, this experience stayed with me. I also think it damaged me emotionally, added to my abandonment issues. I've been here reading stories and decided to tell some of mine. I have more to tell. I'd like to know if anyone has anything to say, similar experience or opinion about this experience. Oh, let me tell you what, honey boo boo child. We've had several different doppelgangers here. Reddit Ghost Stories, u/Jinrei, which is JINREEI. Personal paranormal experiences. I always believed I was sensitive to paranormal and had a heightened sixth sense. My father's family came from a very dark background. I could sense that my grandmother was a very evil woman. The biggest sign was always the emptiness and evil I could see deep in her eyes whenever she looked at me. It was until a few years back I've proven myself right. My parents left to live and work in another country while my older brother and I were being taken care of by my grandma. We stayed with her in our parents' house for about 2.5 years. And the amount of paranormal that started happening ever since she moved in with us was absolutely insane. The room that me and my brother used to share at that time was to stay away from at all costs for me. I started sleeping in the living room every single night because of the amount of negative and dark I would feel being even near our room. Mind you, I never felt anything like that until my grandma moved in. It was this dreadful, dark feeling of something creeping behind me and watching over me whenever I would step inside that room or stand near it. Every time I would walk next to it, I felt like I was being watched. I would get chills all over my body, and the thing I would do is close the doors so tightly and rush back to the other side of the house. However, for some reason, I would constantly find the door wide open, even when I was alone in the house. Many times, I caught my grandma being furious about me closing that door. It seemed very suspicious as it was such a small, dumb thing to get mad over. That was only in the beginning of our experience with her. I would have constant nightmares which would make me sob after I wake up. They were terrifying, and after some time, I felt very unsafe in that house. I would wake up to horrifically loud door slams in the middle of the night. Sometimes they seemed to happen right next to me, and sometimes very far away. It would happen for a week straight, and I would start checking the doors as I was getting very annoyed at the fact that someone is slamming the doors, but they were all always closed. That eventually stopped as I continued having frequent nightmares. I started finding my grandmother sleeping in the living room bed near me. It was quite scary as I would find her sitting straight up looking at me or the wall in the middle of the night. I would often wonder if she sleeps at all. It was very terrifying for a 13-year-old me back then when waking up from a nightmare at 3 a.m. to my grandmother staring at me wide awake or silently looking at the wall. Sometimes I would talk to her and try to ask her why she can't sleep. However, I would never get an answer back. One night, I had this nightmare in which everything was the same. I was sleeping in the room with her. In the dream, I woke up and started getting close to her as she was asleep. I felt like I was going to hit her for some reason. As I was about to do it in the dream, she opened her eyes wide, grabbed my hand, and that woke me up. I turned to the side and actually saw her staring back at me wide awake with this furious look on her face. I started questioning everything in that moment. I was terrified. Not longer after that, I started finding these weird-looking objects all around my house. The thing is, they were always black, and I would find them on the most stupid places ever. It's as if they were being hidden. So one day, as I was taking a shower, I've noticed one of the objects on the water heater, which was very high up. After I asked my grandmother to have a look at it and take it down from there, she got angry, cast me out, and pushed the object even deeper on it. I knew there was no way for me taking it off myself, so after some time I let it go. There was another weird experience with her. I one day went to the gym, and because I had eaten very little the past few days, I passed out mid-workout. I decided to call it a day, go home, and relax. As soon as I got home, my grandma was all over me asking if I was okay and how I was feeling. I felt very weirded out by it and asked her why she thought there was something wrong. She had told me that day, almost around the same time I passed out in the gym, she had a blackout where she couldn't see anything and everything was black. That was one of the weirdest experiences I had with her, which made me the most scared of. Throughout my entire childhood, I was told by everyone that she used to do very bad things to people and that she practiced witchcraft. I started being afraid for my life at some point. Why and how did she know that I passed out in the gym that day? Why did she also have a blackout? I was worried that my own grandmother had cursed me and somehow linked herself to me. I had no explanations for any of these experiences, and I still do not have them until this day. I was always depressed and terrified around her. Always felt as if she was draining all the positive energy I would have. The entire period we stayed with her, it was the most anxious and depressed I have ever been. This one is under Reddit Ghost Stories, u/Bordeaux Ever. BORDOEVER. A girl and a taxi driver. Sorry for my bad English. This ghost story told me my aunt. It happened in the 70s in the village where she comes from. There was one neighbor, he worked as a taxi driver. He was driving along the road and a girl was waved to him. He stopped to pick her up. He asked her where to give her a lift. She didn't answer anything, but simply indicated with her hand where to go. In general, she pointed to the cemetery. He didn't take money from her, well, because she was neighbor's daughter, and the cemetery was not far away. The next day he met her again, and she was dressed in the same white robe as on the first day, and they drove in silence, and again she pointed to the cemetery. He was so surprised. He asked her why she goes there every day, but she didn't answer anything. And again, on the thumb, why is their daughter goes to the cemetery every day? They said that she has been dead for 8 years already. This taxi driver was stunned and fainted. Then the parents of this girl thought maybe she wanted to say something. They decided to dig out the body. When they opened the coffin, it turned out that she was lying in a half turn. At that moment, when she was buried, she was dead. But as it turned out, not quite. Sorry, I had to get a little sippy of my lemonade. It's so delightful and refreshing. Alrighty, so this is by you / capital B, capital N, B Ninja 84. I'm pretty sure this mirror in my house is cursed or something. First, please let me know if this is the wrong sub for this. I do apologize if it's not. I don't know where else to ask or talk about this. My husband and in-laws don't believe me whatsoever. Okay, so I need to preface this. For years, I've had dreams related to ghosts and spirits and stuff. Since I was a kid, it's how they talk to me. Usually, for me to make sure it's actually related and not, just a weird dream, my mom taught me that it should repeat a number of times and how to look around and do things within this dream. Okay, so this particular dream was always related to a mirror in my mother-in-law's house. The mirror itself has always given me creepy vibes, and I've seen like a dark shadow over it at night. But in the dream, I am in front of this mirror, and my reflection is doing things separate from me. It gives me a sinister smile, and then it usually does something graphic, such as slitting its throat, skin being ripped off, or other things. This has been happening for, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks. I know this house was originally my husband's grandmother's that my mill inherited. It was built in the 50s or 60s, and pretty much the house is still original, save for the bathrooms being updated. The mirror itself is in the dining room, but not directly facing a door or a window. But you can see some of the bathroom in it, so I'm not sure if that is the cause. When talking to my mom, she told me that she thinks either the mirror is haunted / cursed or has seen things and may be trying to show me, but my husband doesn't believe me whatsoever and says that the mirror was bought from a store. but that doesn't mean much. But I don't know. Can anyone give me any help? This one is weird because, oh, okay, I see. It was a response to something else. I was about to say, it doesn't say Reddit ghost stories or you / whatever, because it was a response to someone asking about demons, but we shan't go there. We're going to keep it positive. As positive as we may. So, this one is by you / trousers _called _Dave. Lonely ghost? I think the ghost that haunts my house has missed us while we have been on holiday, so it's decided to go full on haunt mode today. To start off, I was in the kitchen trying to find somewhere to put a candle to kill off the random fruit flies that decided to live there while we were away. I have a box of tea lights unopened next to me. I asked my wife if we had a lighter, and she said just to use a bit of pasta, so I turn around and find 4 tea lights stacked up, just sat there by the kettle. I didn't put them there, and my wife was washing the dishes on the opposite side of the room, so she couldn't have, unless she could move so fast that I couldn't see her while I blinked. So as I'm trying to work out where the candles came from, I hear someone sneeze out in the hallway. Everyone is in the kitchen, so Ghost might have a cold. Fast forward, and I'm back in the kitchen cleaning up after my daughter. I was moving her standing steps from the sink back into the dining room and hear a noise in the kitchen behind me. I turn around and I see a toy bucket roll across the floor, followed by a gray/black shadow about 4 feet high, speeding across the room into the wet room. I'm just waiting for other stuff to happen now. Hopefully, they get the kettle on and make me a brew later. Cheers, my friend. Ooh, how do I even pronounce this one? You / they soys or soy bleh. Yeah, can't do it. I've been in UK mode so much I can't do the French, but it's capital M, lowercase AUVAISOEILS. Okay, so they're looking for testimonies. Let's move forward to our beloved stoneworker, a weird experience I once had. So, I was once walking in the woods back behind my house in Pennsylvania, where I used to live with my family, and decided to take my school iPad to film. But as I went back there, the place I frequented, a rustling in the bushes of the path beside me startled me. Me, thinking it was Amish people coming to chastise me for being on their land or whatever, ran up ahead a little bit and turned off my iPad. This was before I was able to film a bit of what it was. And I kid you not, I saw 2 pairs of disembodied arms running through the woods that looked like they had white sleeves. I even remember seeing one of them push up a branch. However, I went back to look down the path and saw nothing. I even lost the little bit of it I filmed. Always try to rationalize it, but simply can't. Weird, right? Alright, so, man, come on. Update settings. Nope, not gonna do it. So we'll just bypass this story. Because it said my second post today, I wanted to read their first one, but it's not allowing me. So we'll just read this one. Was sitting up against the wall in my bedroom before my family had gotten everything moved in. Heard a man loudly grunt in pain from the other side of the wall behind me. But this was my sister's room, and the only thing behind me at the time was her closet. I even went over to her room to ask her if she'd heard it, and she said no. I had to brush it off because it never made sense. Oh no. This reminds me of going to my granny's house. Every time I go to granny's, I come back home with a bowl cut. Oh, she'd cut hair, but yeah, generally when you go back home, you'd have that cute little bowl cut going on. So this is by u/capable-Keanu 6411. The bowl cut teenager. Back in 2015, I was working at a company with a very old building. This building is located behind or the very end of a historic place. This complex is often visited by tourists. Major events are usually held there, and it's been an iconic place since the 70s. Apparently, the building was once their office where they managed stuff. That time, the company would be holding an exhibit. My team and I decided to stay overnight to make the scale model of the product we'll be displaying. Around midnight, my team evacuated from our space to the graphic designers conference room since the table was huge. The table is at center with 2 wooden office tables behind it. There are 5 people in my team, including me. One of my team members stayed at our own space. Let's call her A. Then 2 of us went in the conference room, B and me, both females, while the 2 remaining decided to go out and eat, D and E, both male. I sat facing B and the 2 tables behind me. While we're building a part of the scale model, I noticed someone moving one of the office tables behind me from the corner of my eye. I turned my head to the direction. There was no one. I thought A went in without us noticing, but then I realized it can't be A because the woman I saw is too tall. I face B. Once again, I see the woman moving. I can recognize it's a woman. I can see her wearing a uniform, her wearing a pencil skirt, like a normal employee. She's constantly moving. I decided to tell B about it. She didn't believe me. She doesn't see anything, and considering she's facing that area, I told her it's a woman, and that I can only see her in my peripheral vision. But when I full on look, it disappears. We hurriedly continued the building on our scale model so we can get out of here quickly. More than 30 minutes later, we evacuated and settled in the main office. This location has the typical office dividers. B and I sat on the floor, her back against one of the dividers. Then later, A joined us. We're using the socket to use the electric file tool for our scale model, when suddenly I felt something land on the back of my head. Everything happened so fast. A and B screamed and quickly stood up. I saw 3 crumpled papers in front of me. B ran to the lobby. We followed her, terrified. A said maybe D and E was pulling a prank on us, but 3 minutes later, we spotted D and E went in the building carrying our food. We asked them to buy us food before they went out. We went back to the main office. I straightened the papers. One of it has something written on it. I found this in the bathroom. The other 2 is blank. B said those papers came from the other side of the divider. Since we are the only ones there, who could have thrown the crumpled papers? We freaked out, but continued our work because we're rushing. Moments later, I was searching my phone and decided to go back to our department. To get there, I had to walk in the center hall, in between rows and rows of dividers. And that's when I saw a figure again. This figure is a male. I saw him for a split second walking in front of me. He's wearing a white shirt and jeans with very black hair and bowl cut. He looked skinny like a teenager. I saw him 3 times after that until we decided to go home. Weeks later, after we had our egress, my fellow designers hugged out and we told our ghost stories. One of my colleagues, she's not part of our team, said she recently saw a guy in the main office wearing a white shirt and jeans. Then I said, "Does this guy also have a black hair and bowl cut?" And she replied, "Yeah, looks like the one Beatles had." More ghosts are lurking in that complex. That building is now gone and abandoned. This one is by u/Rementor Letim. What's in the tree? While living in our old neighborhood on the north side of Chicago, my husband and I often took walks on late summer evenings to admire the area's beautiful Victorian houses by moonlight. Frequently, their owners, sitting on the wraparound porches to catch a breeze, would call out, "Nice night," as we passed, to which, of course, we responded, "Yes, it is, certainly is." It was a lovely social tradition, one we imagined had been practiced since those houses were built. One night, ambling back to our apartment, we happened past a tree in the parkway about which there was nothing unusual except, as as we walked under its branches, a deep, resonating moan emanated from within its darkened foliage. Not a cicada buzz, bat squeak, bird chirp, or cat yowl, but a moan, coming from right above our heads. There was something not right about the sound, and the hair on my arm stood on end, yet we paused, trying to determine what we'd heard. "What do you think that was?" I asked my husband. "Has to be an animal," he said. "Maybe a squirrel protecting its nest?" The sound again came from above our heads, more of a groan than a moan this time. "Squirrel?" I scoffed. "I've never heard one make that noise." City squirrels do occasionally emit a distinctive cry when scared, but it could never be mistaken for a moan or a groan. There was a human or human-like element to what we were hearing, but the tree was in no way big or sturdy enough to conceal an adult or child. And who'd hide up in a tree and moan anyways? "It has to be a squirrel," my husband retaliated, sounding less convinced now, more like he was trying to make things right in his mind. But the sound was even more wrong, low and guttural, when it came a third time. "Whatever it is, we need to go now," he said, suddenly grabbing me by the arm and pulling me away from the tree. He's a fast walker naturally, but now he race walked, on the verge of running as he dragged me behind him. Barely able to keep up, I nevertheless asked, "Do you think it's some sort of spirit?" "No," he shouted automatically. Then, in the most fearful tone I've ever heard him use, he continued, "Honestly, I really don't know, but I don't want to see whatever it is, and I'm afraid if we stay here, I might." The words had no sooner left his mouth than we heard the sound once more, a long, unattuned moan that absolutely vibrated the nighttime air, and we took off running like a couple of terrified kids. A few blocks later, we reached our building, where, after rushing up the stairs to our second-floor unit, we locked the door and flopped on the couch out of breath. A little while later, when we finally decided to address our experience, we didn't even attempt to apply further logic to it, for, having ruled out insects, animals, and humans, what other explanation was there for something supernatural? Yet a ghost didn't seem the likeliest explanation. Why would a spirit haunt a tree unless maybe it was a hanging tree behind a prison, where death sentences had been carried out? A scrawny young maple in an urban parkway didn't fit that scenario. And then I began wondering if we'd encountered a misplaced elemental named after the elements of nature, i.e., fire, air, water, earth, etc. Elementals are spirits that have never incarnated as humans. While technically no ghosts, they are capable of evoking fear, uneasiness, etc. in some people. Mostly, though, they're pretty harmless. Due to the fact elementals are usually associated with forests, mountains, and other areas of sparse human habitation, I did at first wonder how one might have ended up in a large city. Then I realized it might have accidentally attached itself to a group of vacationers on a camping or hiking trip. Transported back to their neighborhood, it sought shelter in something familiar to it, a tree, meaning the moaning and groaning we'd heard was probably the spirit's successful attempt to scare us away from its safe place. Though we continued to live in the neighborhood a couple more years and kept our evening walks, we never again encountered the moaner, so I guess whatever it was found some place more to its liking, such as a park or forest preserve. Well, that kind of was like perfect timing for that because our outro song is only 2 minutes and 3 seconds long. Oh, there it is! Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here with me on this Labor Day weekend for story time with me, TessaTNT. And thank you for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in Rockies. Thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's KPL Radio, Facebook, Twitter, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you may be listening beyond the universe tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night. We might do story time again. Instead of doing ghost stories, we might do scary stories or alien stories or UFO stories or something. But we always start off with our Bram Stoker's Dracula. So make sure you tune in for that at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, and 2 a.m. European time. Don't forget, we're almost together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media because without you, there is no us. If you'd like to join us for this night after party, look me up at tessa.n.thomas30@gmail.com or give us a little jingle jangle at 970-335-9596. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light, have a wonderful rest of your Labor Day weekend, and I will see you back here tomorrow, same time, same bloody place. Take care, my ears.